wanted to say a few words about home recording versus studio recording in terms of helping you decide what choices might be the best for you. It comes down to money, really, and it really depends on how much money you've got to spend on the project that you're working on. But there are a few guidelines that I think will help. Home studios are great for demos. If you have a song that you want to send to record labels or you want to send to clubs, let them know what you can do. Home studios can do a perfectly great demo and are not necessarily the end product. You may, if you get a record deal, you might re-record the songs that you made in your home studio. Home studios can also be great for overdubbing. Overdubbing are extra sounds that are added to basic tracks. One really common method of working is to spend some money in a professional studio environment to do what they call basic tracks, which might be drums, bass, guitar. You've got your session musicians and you do, the main body of stuff. And then you take those tracks home with you to your home studio and you work on your vocals or you work on percussion or keyboard parts or other little, things that you can do more easily at home when the clock's not running. There's also a new kind of trend that I see a lot here in Nashville of remote overdubs. If I'm a musician in Dublin, for example, and I want my favorite guitar player in Nashville to come and play on my record, and I can't afford to fly him to Dublin, I can email him my basic tracks and ask the Nashville guitar player to do an overdub for me, and then he will record in his home studio and send it back to me in Ireland. This has been a really interesting way for me to do, and a lot of people that I know here in Nashville, to do a lot of collaborating with people all over the world, really, and it'll be interesting to see where that trend goes. Home studios are also great for smaller budget projects. If you've got to make it work, you've got to make it work, and it is really possible to make something that sounds quite good at home if that's what you've got to work with. You will need to put together a recording budget regardless of where you're working. The first thing that you should probably try to get a handle on is how long is it going to take you to do what you're doing? How many songs do you want to try to get recorded? How much time do you have to work? If you're new to this process, you should ask other musicians about what's a reasonable thing to expect for your project. Very seasoned musicians will knock out your tracks for you very quickly, and so sometimes it can actually be cheaper to hire more expensive musicians on the front end to get it done than maybe your buddy who hasn't done a lot of recording yet and takes a couple of days to get everything right. I should say also, if you're a student in a recording program or at a music school, there may be ways to get access to musicians and studio time through your college or university. And in fact, even if you're not a student, there are sometimes ways that you can get into recording studios at colleges and universities, maybe as part of that student's final project or so forth. I know that happens a lot here in Nashville anyway. If you don't have access to a studio through a university, you can also call your local recording studios, ask them about their day rates, start putting the numbers together. You can check the musicians' union websites for information about pay scales to get an idea about what's fair. The pay scales for musicians slide depending on the type of project that you're working on, and so you can know what is fair to offer a musician if you're not familiar with them personally. Be sure to allot money for mixing and mastering, also package design and distribution and marketing. Those are things that people oftentimes forget about. Be rehearsed before you go in there and prepared as much as you can be. Learn as much as you can about a professional studio environment before you spend money on a professional studio. And most importantly, have fun with it. Recording is one of the most wonderful things a musician can do.